This is a world that's very familiar to us, created like a photographic lens through the mind of Sidney Nolan, a radical, an outsider, an art reformer. There is a grand irony in this retrospective at the National Gallery of Victoria. When he trained here in the 1930s, his style was, well, unwelcome with the traditional art society. Now Sidney Nolan's granddaughter tells us those early days of development are what set him on his course to Europe.
It's such a different sort of style.
It's his style, isn't it? Like, you can definitely see when he sort of discovered modernism, when he saw what Picasso was doing and he saw what Matisse was doing, he was blown away by what was going on in Europe. And back then it was relying on magazines that were coming through and checking these images out, certainly not seeing them for real. So he was definitely thinking, modernism, my God, this is amazing.
His paintings tell us who we are as Australians. A careful selection of masterpieces, his images are like a personal diary, from his upbringing in Melbourne, St Kilda, to his love of the Australian landscape. This is a famous artwork Australians remember him for.
When you and I look at these paintings, we may just see Ned Kelly, but there's so much more to the fascination that Sidney Nolan had with the Ned Kelly story. Of course, these days we can only guess and wonder what that fascination might have been. It may have been that Sidney Nolan's own grandfather was a ranger who helped to track down the Kelly gang, or that just as Ned Kelly was the rebel of Victoria's bushland, Sidney Nolan himself was a rebel of the international art world.
What about Ned Kelly? There's so many artworks through here of Ned Kelly. What do you think the fascination was?
There's heaps of different layers to Sid's fascination with Ned Kelly. Many different layers to it,
Bad
to the
boy,
story.
the helmet?
Yeah, total head case. The Irish kind of freedom fighter, the guy who sort of stood up against the establishment,
Is that how Sidney Nolan felt, do you think?
Yes, very much so, yep.
While some of Nolan's artworks carry a hefty price tag, would-be investors should be careful.
If you want to sort of get your eye in and to understand what the best of Nolan is, if you're interested in investing, I would say come to an exhibition like this. But there are a lot of Nolans out there, and you need to be very discerning and very careful if you're going to invest serious sums of money.
The rebel of the art world would be ironically proud to see his masterpieces on display at the National Gallery of Victoria. Ahron Young, Sky News Business Channel, Melbourne.